What can we learn from the midterm elections in 2014? We're going to be looking at and explaining the impact of the 2014 midterms on the American political system, and in particular their impact on the President Barack Obama. So first of all, we need to pause the video and think who controlled the House and Senate before these elections, and if you can, remember how many seats did they control. Pause the video now. So the position before the midterms. In the Senate, the Democrats had 53 seats, but effectively held 55 because of the two independents who voted with them, and the Republicans had 45. In the House, the Democrats were in a minority with 201, whilst the Republicans had 234. So put it simply, Democrats controlled the Senate, but did not have a supermajority, so could not overturn the filibuster, and the Republicans controlled the House. Now in this election, 36 seats were up for election in the Senate, 21 of which were controlled by Democrats and 15 controlled by Republicans. And the Republicans needed at least 6 Senate seats to take a majority and seize control of the Senate. It was seen by many that the Democrats were unlikely to win back the House, but that the Republicans may well win back the Senate during this election. However, people had said the same in 2010 and 2012, so there was some cynicism about whether they would achieve this feat. So were there any primary challenges? Now, incumbents are often more likely to be unseated in their primary rather than the actual election. And this is due to the fact that many seats in both chambers of Congress stay within one party for long periods of time. So actually, often, it is more likely that someone from your own party is more likely to take the nomination for that seat, and so take your seat, than the other party to defeat you in the election. So no senators were defeated in the primaries in 2014. However, there were some significant defeats in the House. Most importantly, Republican House leader Eric Cantor was defeated in the Virginia primary, which led to him resigning his leadership post and resigning his seat. Republicans lost 2 other sitting members to primaries. Ralph Hall of Texas, the oldest member of the House at the age of 91. Now this is an interesting character who actually for many years was a Democrat and only switched over to the Republicans in 2004. And Kerry Pontevalio of Michigan, who as a Tea Party supporter was unseated largely due to his ultra-conservative libertarian views being unpopular in his area. The Democrats just lost one individual in the primaries, John Tierney of Massachusetts, and this was largely due to personal scandal. So a key question would be, why are primary challenges often more successful than challenges from the other party? And this comes back to the idea of the red-blue divide and the concept that actually most seats in Congress are split down partisan lines. Now the far more interesting and more significant battle was in the Senate, so we're going to focus on the Senate mostly. So what happened in the Senate? The Republicans won 9 seats overall, taking control of the Senate, and more than was expected as they only needed 6 to win control. Now these 9 seats were 5 Democratic incumbents and 4 open races where a Democrat had retired, and so it was more of a fair fight. And this is significant because this is the highest number of incumbents being defeated since 2006, with only 82% of incumbents re-elected, which is low for the Senate. And it's also the worst loss in the Senate for the Democrats since 1946, as the Republicans seized the 54 seats, which meant that they now had a majority. However, the key point is that the Republicans' power was still limited in the Senate. Now this is largely because the filibuster can still block votes in the Senate even when the other party has a majority. So effectively, to control the Senate, you actually need a supermajority. Now, there are three main reasons why the Democrats lost control of the Senate. First of all, there are changes in voter support and turnout. Secondly, there are systemic factors of which they have little control over. And thirdly, there were political factors in the 2014 midterms which impacted a great deal on the Democrats. The first key reason why the Democrats lost the Senate was to do with changes in voter turnout and support. Now, after 2008, it is clear that the Democrats have lost support as Barack Obama's energy and excitement has waned. And to some extent, a reverse coattails effect is now having an impact on the Democrats, as there is no longer a popular president to carry votes in Congress. For example, there has been a drop in support in all key groups who voted for Obama in 2008. So one example is that in terms of men, who make 49% of the electorate, there's been an 8% drop since 2008 in support for the Democrats. Now, actually, there's been a drop across all different recorded groups since 2008. And secondly, there is a low turnout from key groups in the 2014 election, with Hispanic, Latino and youth turnout all dropping in 2014, arguably because there was a sense of disillusionment with the Democrats, and particularly Obama. And there are also systemic factors that cause the Democrats to lose the Senate. And these are factors that are outside the Democrats' control, which have been argued to have caused significant damage to their hopes. First of all, it's well known that there is a 6-year itch, and that 20 out of the last 29 midterms have seen the President's party lose both chambers of Congress. And we can see why with the reverse coattails effect, that there is no longer a popular president to push through a legislative agenda, and the voters show their disillusionment with the president after 6 years in office. There's also a stacked deck. Now, by this we mean that in the 36 Senate races, 21 of these were being defended by Democrats, meaning there's more potential for them to lose seats, and that there were a large amount of open seats. And many of these open seats were in states that had shown that they were moving towards Republicans by supporting Romney in 2012. So even before the elections took place, many people said it would be very, very difficult for Democrats to defend their majority. And as alluded to before, voter turnout in midterms has always been very, very low amongst the key groups of the young and minority voters who had been large Democrat supporters in 2008, 2010 and 2012. There are also several political factors which helped the Republicans win the Senate in 2014. So Democrats faced several political problems. Number one being President Obama, and really his unpopular policies and approach by this time. Now, Obama made a great mistake in making it clear to the electorate that his policies would be supported by the Democrats, which played into Republicans' hands because they knew how unpopular Obama was, and they wanted to identify the Democrat congressional candidates with this unpopular president. And actually the midterms are often seen as a chance to express disapproval of the president, and it appears that's what many people did. The Republicans also had learnt lessons from their earlier elections, and the Republican candidates were of a lot better standard than in 2012 and 2010. So the Republican Party resisted the temptation to support more radical extreme Tea Party members who often polarised opinion and polarised support, and they made sure that a certain amount of training was in place to make sure candidates did not make mistakes, as in the last few elections there have been high profile cases where Republican candidates had made large mistakes and had tarnished the Republican image. Lastly, and perhaps unfairly, the Democrats were blamed for their economic record. So although the economy was improving and unemployment was going down, the stock market was improving, Obama was still being blamed for the poor economy, which was a key factor in the Republicans being able to win this election, largely by blaming the president. So overall, what does this tell us? First of all, the elections clearly were a referendum on the president, as Republicans were able to make the unpopularity of Obama a key part of this election. The Democrats also seemingly have a midterm election problem, in that they have a low turnout of key groups needed for them to win the elections, most significantly the young and minorities. Thirdly, the Republicans have improved since 2010 and 2012. The selection and training of their candidates has improved with less mistakes and less gaffes, and they've improved their share of the Hispanic vote, a key area to be working on with the changing demographics in America. However, midterm success does not guarantee presidential success in 2016. The Republicans have actually only won the popular vote once in the last 6 elections, in 2004. However, on the flip side, it's very rare for one party to win 3 presidential elections in a row, giving the Republicans hope that they will be able to win the presidential race in 2016. And the last question I want to think about is how likely is that Obama will make a success of his last 2 years in office, and what are the obstacles that he will face in trying to achieve this. This has been a Flip Your History video. More information and more videos are available on TES if you search Flip Your History, or for more information about Flip Learning and my Flip Learning journey, go to Twitter at Flip Your History or my blog flipyourhistory.wordpress.com. Thank you for listening.